Hey guys, this is Substitute Topher. Today we're driving a 2016 Mobility Ventures MV1, a purpose-built mobility van. These were made from 2011 to 2016. This particular one is the final model year. It's the SE model, the base car. Kind of an interesting thing. You know, you see these driving around on the roads, you see them if you go to major cities, and you often wonder, what is that thing? I remember when these first came out, I had no idea what I was looking at. This particular one, finished in black, kind of looks like an oversized London taxi. But we're going to take this for a drive today. We're going to talk about what it's like, what it's been like to own. I'm with my good buddy Tori, who bought this car for his handicapped dad to get him around town easier. We're in West Palm Beach, Florida today. We're going to go for kind of just like a casual city drive in this thing. And well, we'll give you guys some driving impressions. And first, we'll show you around this thing. Kind of an interesting looking design here. We've got some hubcaps. So this Mobility Ventures MV1 is built by a company called AM General. These cars were built in Indiana, and it's kind of like a mishmash parts bin special. We've got a lot of Ford electronics and mechanical things in here. Under the hood, 3.7 liter naturally aspirated V6, giving us 275 horsepower and 260 pound-feet of torque. That's mated to a 6-speed automatic. So this is the motor you would have found in a late 2000s, early 2010s Ford Taurus, Ford Flex, Explorer, some of those vehicles. So pretty decent for what this thing is. It does weigh 5,100 pounds, so it's a little bit heavy. And the reason it doesn't weigh more than that, this thing is massive, is because the inside is pretty much empty, and that is because of what's going on here. So let's talk about that. And first, let's pop the hood and show you this V6, and then we'll go over and we'll show you kind of the main purpose of this MV1 and what it is intended for. Whew, black car in the Florida sun. Okay, this is going to be short because my hands are burning, but here's that 3.7 liter. Holy crap, that is hard to touch. Okay, let's walk around to the side here. So this is interesting to me. We open this passenger side rear door, and you've got this large open area. Now the purpose here is to have the wheelchair sit up front, which is kind of a neat advantage to the MV1, because normally if you have a conversion van, your wheelchair passenger will sit in the back, whereas here they're able to sit in the front and see all of the beautiful things that the driver sees. So that's kind of neat. You've got these little constraints here, or tie downs rather, that tie the wheelchair in place. You've also got a seat belt that extends, that goes across the wheelchair passenger's chest, or normal area where a seat belt would go, and then these little hooks hold in the wheels of the wheelchair, and they sit right here. Even better is the fact that with the wheelchair, you're still able to take 5 more passengers. You can sit 3 of them here in the back, across the bench here. You've got this kind of jump seat thing that extends behind the driver's seat, so you've got 4 people back here, your wheelchair person there in the front passenger side, and then the driver. So all in all, this is a 6-passenger, 6-passenger vehicle. So this is the biggest advantage to the MV1, is the built-in ramp. You've got these little buttons here on the door, and in one touch, this 30-inch wide ramp extends out. I mean, how much easier can that get? So at this point, you wheel your wheelchair up the ramp. Once that thing has decided it's good, you can wheel it right in, push the wheelchair in, lock it down, walk back out. Again, it's a one touch to fold the ramp back in. And that is just excellent. Another advantage with this MV1 over a conversion van is that nothing is sacrificed here. When a vehicle is not purpose-built to be a mobility car like this, they have to tweak suspension, they have to tweak different things to make it able to take a wheelchair. But since this one was built around this idea of having a wheelchair in it, you still get 6 inches of ground clearance, and you can take this thing places, and you don't, you're not being held back by anything in this car. So that's kind of a cool thing. We are missing a hubcap, but we'll gloss over that. If you were about to comment that, don't comment that. But so one last fun fact about this ramp: it's made by a company called ASC, which some of you may be familiar with. ASC was the company responsible for partnering with McLaren, with Pontiac, all of these brands in the 80s to bring us really cool performance cars, and they're also the company that makes the ramp that goes in the MV1. Let's show you cargo space in the back. Pretty big lift gate here. Got a sticker here, proudly made in the USA. The company is actually based in Miami, Florida, but like I said, they are built in Indiana. Pretty good amount of room back here in the back of the MV1. Looks like nothing under this carpet here. But as you can see, we've got some cones for when the ramp is extended out. So those live back here, and you're able to fit pretty much everything you need here in the back of the MV1. All right, sweet. Well, that'll probably wrap it up for our walk around. So let's go ahead and take this thing for a drive and see what it's like on the road. So here's our key and our key fob. The actual key is an old Mercury key. You can see you've got your little dots here, and right here is where your Mercury badge would normally go. And then we've got our classic Ford key fob as well. And once you hop in, it's pretty familiar Ford switchgear. We've got a Lincoln style steering wheel, but we don't have leather wrapping on this as it is the lower trimmed SE, but still a pretty attractive looking steering wheel. And of course that familiar I'm a Ford chime. Now the HVAC in this car is kind of loud. I've got this on the lowest setting, and since we are in southern Florida, we do have to run the AC so the GoPro doesn't overheat. But I've got Tori here in the back. He's the owner of this beautiful MV1, and you said this is the best purchase you've ever made. It's made your life a lot easier.
Yeah, I mean, as a car enthusiast, this is the last car I would ever want to buy. Based on my situation and my dad's limited mobility, it's been a blessing. It's super simple, easy to just roll them in, roll them out, and it's made my life a lot easier.
Yeah, I mean, that's what this thing's all about. I think it's the coolest part to me is that the wheelchair actually sits here instead of, in a lot of vans that are built like aftermarket.
He's in the back seat.
He's in the back seat. And not only that, do you mind if I say how much you paid for this?
No.
Okay, so you paid like 16 grand for this car. It's got 32,000 miles on it. It's pretty fresh. It still feels really tight. Whereas you were looking at some conversion vans that were like
almost
$90,000. So having these available on the used market, I mean, seems like a no-brainer if you have a situation where you need a vehicle to transport someone in a wheelchair.
Limited access to parts.
Limited. Oh, in this you mean?
Because they're no longer, they're discontinued and no longer made. It's tough to find replacement parts for anything that breaks.
Okay, that makes sense. Yeah. And I know you were thinking about putting some different wheels on this, and the bolt pattern's a little strange. And I was looking around trying to find a set of wheels for this thing, and the only thing I could find were like some 26-inch like donk wheels for the car. So if any of you in the comments know where to find a nice set of wheels to upgrade this MV1, that would be nice. Cool. Well, down here, pretty simple. We've got a Panasonic head unit. I don't know if that comes standard or not. I'm going to assume that it does. And no auto climate control or anything like that, but luckily we do have air conditioning. We've got, looks like this button down here, is that another way to open the ramp?
I'm not sure.
Okay.
It's got two ramp buttons, one you got here, and then one on the frame.
One on the actual door frame, yep, okay. Got a slot right here, fits my iPhone Pro Max nicely. Fits in there nice and tight. 2 cup holders over there on the dash. You've got a couple different storage cubbies up here and plenty of room to put all of your things. Foot parking brake. We've got a tilt steering wheel, which we've got all the way up so you all can see the cluster. Otherwise though, pretty standard. No carpet, just a nice rubber floor. Clean up any accidents easily. You can just hose this thing out and be on your way. All right, column shifter, also from the Ford parts bin. Goes nice and smoothly into gear there. We've got a tow haul mode on the end, and we've also got an option to manually shift this MV1. Now I was expecting this thing to be like super cumbersome and rattly and just like horrible, but it's honestly really easy to drive. The steering is decently light, and you'll hear once we get out onto the road, once we have a straight section, this 3.7 liter like screams. There's like minimal sound deadening for the engine bay, and you can really hear this engine Nice smooth throttle inputs there, no hesitations, and no real problems there from that 6-speed automatic. All right, cool. Let's listen to this 3.7 liter. It kind of sounds like the Honda J35 with VTEC, but nope, it is a Ford unit. But you really only hear it when you're in the higher revs. I mean, just driving around town, it's not like this thing is super loud. The only thing I did notice is the ride is a little harsh when you're sitting in the back. You don't notice it up front as much. But with that being said, the interior actually seems like it's decently well put together. There aren't a ton of rattles. Obviously, in a very open cabin car like this, you do get some rattles. But with this being a later model, actually the last production year, 2016, it makes sense that they were able to kind of figure some things out, tighten everything up. Brake pedal feels nice. Yeah, the steering's quick enough that get it around sharp corners and maneuver. I mean, you whip this thing all around the island and you have no problems. It doesn't feel super huge on the road. More than anything, it feels very tall, but luckily we have infinite room up, so actually straddling the lanes it feels completely fine. Got cruise control here on the wheel. I mean, I just feel like I'm driving a Ford van. It feels very familiar in here. So a couple of issues we've had with the MV1, or a couple of problems that are current, is the wipers only work on full speed. So that's the only speed for the wipers. Which you then have to get back like that. And then also, the headlights only work on the brights function. So we took this thing out to dinner the other night and we were blinding everybody coming the opposite way because the actual headlights don't function unless you've got it pushed forward to be in the brights mode. Have you figured out like what's causing that?
No, I went through the fuse boxes, I replaced a bunch of fuses. I took it to a Ford dealership and they basically said that we don't want to work on this car.
Wow.
I had trouble finding someone to do any sort of work other than the ramp maintenance. Ramp maintenance is really easy. You take it to a mobility dealership and they'll grease it and make sure that it's all functioning properly. But in terms of the actual car itself, it's difficult to find something to work on.
Okay. Yeah, I suppose that would be another kind of thing to consider before you go with one of these over a conversion or a van that's been converted, because of course those are still a Chrysler Town and Country or whatever is being converted, so a dealership would be more willing to work on something like that. But you'd think that with this being pretty much like a Ford parts bin vehicle that they would be more willing to like kind of take a stab at it, but I guess I could see how that would be a little bit intimidating for them. So from the factory, this SE model was about 41 grand, so considering this one was bought for 16, it has done a bit of depreciating, but there were 3 trim levels. There was the SE, the DX, and the LX. So you could actually have this with some wood grain trim, some more leather appointments in here, some alloy wheels, and just some things that dressed up the MV1 just a bit more. Slow, dangerous intersection. We don't have signs like that in Michigan. It's crazy how sporty that V6 sounds. I mean, it must just be sitting like right here. The actual hood is pretty short, so I imagine it does sit somewhat behind the dash here, which is probably why you hear it as much as you do. But definitely not a bad sounding V6. NVH isn't too bad. I touched on the ride a bit earlier, and it's not too harsh. But what I think is funny is we were driving the BMW XM earlier this week, and the noise over bumps in that XM is louder than it is in this $16,000 MV1. But probably because you get quite a bit more sidewall in this car. Not that that's really an accurate comparison, but what I'm trying to say is It's super approachable, it's super easy to drive, it's not super loud, and overall, kind of an option that's overlooked. I mean, this is obviously for a very niche buyer, and as Tori said, it's made his life much easier having this car around. So if you're someone that is looking for something like this, I mean, would you recommend it?
Absolutely.
Yeah, I mean, pretty cool little overlooked van here. All right, guys, well, that's gonna wrap it up for us today. Driving the Mobility Ventures MV1. I've always wanted to drive one of these, which is hilarious. And when Tori showed me that he bought one, I was like, I need to come down and film it, because whenever I see these, I'm always so curious, like, what it's like to be in one. And it was such a mysterious car when it came out. So finally being able to get behind the wheel was pretty neat. Thanks again to Tori for letting me take this thing for a spin.
Yeah, it looks like a London taxi, so people are always super curious what it is, why why you're driving it, and what its purpose is. And most people don't know that it's a wheelchair accessible vehicle, and that's the purpose it serves.
Yeah, and it does that pretty well. I mean, I've seen you load your dad in here, and it just looks like the easiest thing ever. Those 4 little hooks, and then there's a seatbelt that goes across his lap as well, or across his chest rather. So, all right, well, let's do one last walk around here of the MV1, and then that will end it for us today. Thank you all so much for watching. Let me know in the comments what you think. Have you ever been in an MV1? I know they use these as taxis in New York City and Chicago, things like that, but it's more than just a taxi. And as you heard there from Tori, it's been a pretty good vehicle for him. So thank you all again so much for watching. We'll see you in the next one. Take care.